So, Sarah is a women's interfaith organization named after the Mother of all nations and is the acronym for the Spiritual and Religious Alliance for Hope. And we're celebrating our 18-year anniversary this year. We exist to provide a safe space for women to dialogue, to explore, and expand our understanding of ourselves and one another. But we're equally about providing a platform for action and to find creative new ways to solutions to old problems. So we basically are about providing a platform for women for not just their voices to be heard, but perhaps also to provide workshops where women can earn money and share their wisdom. All too often, this space is reserved for celebrities or more high-profile individuals or bestseller authors. And we know that women like me or women that look like me or in our communities that don't have that status have a lot of wisdom to share and should be earning money for what they're doing. So we provide the platform for that. And most importantly, we recognize that it's our responsibility as women of all nations to answer the call of the Mother's Day Proclamation, which is a thread of that's been running through Sarah all of these years, but never really seriously addressed. But we've always acknowledged the Mother's Day Proclamation as this clarion call to for the voices of women to put a stop to senseless violence and warfare. And then at the very last paragraph of the Mother's Day Proclamation, which was written 150 years ago by Julia Ward Howe following the American Civil War, was that she earnestly calls for a General Congress of Women of all nationalities to convene to address the greater needs of peace. And, Sarah, the Mother of all nations, is most appropriate to do that. So we've created the General Congress of Women Initiative, and we've just begun organizing and helping to support congresses of women all around the world, who will then send a delegate to the General Congress, where their voice will be the voice of their constituents. And collectively, or I should say, this would ultimately become the largest grassroots collective voice for women. And by the way, we are the largest known and oldest women's interfaith organization in the world. So who better than Sarah to hold on to that responsibility? So the morning of 9/11, 18 years ago, I woke up to the same optics everybody was seeing, and the same perhaps disbelief, particularly in our country, of what was going on. And before I got out of bed, now I'm on the West Coast, so I was in before 7 o'clock, perhaps around 7 a.m., I heard "Gather the Women." And I didn't know who was whispering this in my ear, and I didn't know what I'm supposed to do with women once I get them or where to find them. I was more concerned at that moment about what do I do with my middle school kids. Do I send them off to school that day? And my next thought was, what must Muslim women be feeling right now? And then I realized I don't know any Muslim women. So I thought perhaps what I needed to do is to go find some Muslim women and start a conversation and provide a space for them. I did not know what I was doing. I had no experience in this. I was the director of sales and marketing for a major home builder. I didn't know anything about gathering women and dialoguing and but I just instinctively knew that I needed to gather the women. And so that's, long story short, that's what ended up happening. And Sarah was birthed in my living room. And it was actually several months later, so it was really in 2002 that happened. That would make it 18 years. So we started in the month of September in 2002. And so that's where Sarah came from. So all that time, I had been engaged in convening women, in doing programs for women, in collaboration and supporting women's efforts. And then I was at the Parliament of the World's Religions in Salt Lake City in 2015 at the Women's Assembly, the inaugural Women's Assembly. You were there. I was in the front row. And I couldn't help but catch everything that was landing on my lap. I was sitting at the hem of these extraordinary women, blowing my mind about really, I mean, just speaking my truth, really. And I came home and I didn't know what to do with that lightning in a bottle. I just didn't know what to do with it. And then in June, I was on a volunteer staff call at the Charter for Compassion with Marilyn. And it just dawned on me. I knew we were preparing for a woman president. That I knew for sure. And that was in 2016. And then it just dawned on me, where are the women, Marilyn? There's no sector for women and girls. So, because you can't talk about women without talking about girls too. And so she entrusted me with this space called it the Women and Girls sector, and became the 12th sector of the charter. But all along, Sarah has been kind of trotting along. And then we kind of went dormant for a while, largely because so much of my energy was put into the Women and Girls sector. And things also needed to change. Something else needed to emerge with Sarah. We weren't hitting the mark. It wasn't feeling right, but nobody was willing to see her go. And so we just, let her rest. And then COVID happened. And all of a sudden, it just this convergence. I needed to go be 100% with Sarah. It was actually before COVID, to be honest with you, but that was part of that convergence. That was part of everything that was coming together at once right there. And the creative tension in the world was really calling Sarah to have to step into our power. And then it dawned on me, the IRS had given us the word "the" in front of our name. We didn't ask for that. Our name is Sarah, yet they put "the" in front of Sarah and made the name our acronym spells out to be our legal name. And so I was just so happy to get our letter of determination of a 501c3 that I wasn't about to send it back. But we've actually grown into that. We've actually grown into our name that the IRS gave us. So we are the Alliance for Hope is how we stand in that power. We stand in that power and that responsibility. I think that the Charter for Compassion holds a sacred responsibility. And I think that responsibility is to provide a megaphone for organizations that subscribe to the ideas of compassion. The Charter has a robust outreach capability. That alone is priceless for organizations that are on the ground doing the work. And I think the Charter holds the promise to serve as a network for all sectors to better collaborate with one another and know about one another. And since we're threaded together within the Charter as partners, and compassion is our common bonding agent, and also because the social justice sector is so broad in scope, it appeals to every single one of the other sectors. So there's a lot of opportunity within this sector. More, I think the Women and Girls sector also holds this promise too, because they too are across the board everywhere. But I think social justice and women and girls are inseparable when you're looking at the greater needs of peace, whatever sector you're looking at, whether it's education or healthcare, science, or whatever it is you're doing out there. We're seeking justice, and we have to consider the disproportionate impact on women and girls. So I think that it's necessary for partners to better know one another. And I think that's what the Charter, that's what comes to mind when I think about the Charter. I think of a really important bonding agent. Well, for me, that's easy. I think regardless of what area of need you're addressing in social justice, that please consider the impact of women and girls in everything you do. And because when you do this, you're considering the impact of every single other critical area of concern on the planet. The disproportionate impact on women and girls and the needs of the world are inseparable. And if you don't have women on your team at the core of your organization, make that happen.
We do it.
The voices of women and also young women are critical, if not urgent. And it's like, don't even wait till your next board meeting. You know, start now, because it's a missed voice. Yeah, I think looking at what we're doing and seeing where it intersects with your work and calling us up, dropping an email, saying, hey, we're doing this. Do you want to collaborate, or can we collaborate with you? Or you know, contacting somebody who's working with us through us. I mean, you know, we're all on the same team. We're all, you know, we all need one another. And we don't discount the other, and we don't water down one another's work. There is one competitive factor going on right now, and that is airtime, because there's just only so much programming you can sign up for and do, and we're one of those. So I'm aware of that, but if there's something we can do together, we're totally game for that. We're totally down for collaborating and cooperating with others. It makes our work easier, it makes our outreach broader, and it makes a more dynamic creative force. And yeah, so we've been doing that with Grandmother Flor de Mayo, who, with the urgent call from the spirit of the feminine. So we charge for everything we do, with exception, I should say. But our programming, our programming and our workshops and our calls with Grandmother and our death row calls, those are all fee-based. And it's time that we practice sacred economy, so we share that sacred economy. Because it's a currency, it has to flow. So there's a lot of ways of collaborating with us that we're looking for. Grandmother Percy Ami, who was one of Grandmother Flor de Mayo's guests on our last program, said, take life seriously, but have fun doing it. If you can't laugh, you know, if you can't have fun, if you're constantly tied in knots, there's something wrong. You're not going to get your social justice work done as effectively as if you lighten up and find passion and compassion and levity in your work. That's where creativity lives. So belly laugh every now and then. You know, you might get a little bit further with your work.